I am a very proud cancer survivor, 7.5 years now, and my journey my cancer journey started in September of 2004. That's when I was given the diagnosis of colorectal cancer. So I had surgery, followed by 25 sessions of radiation and 6 months of chemo, because when the tumor was removed, 1 out of the 29 lymph nodes removed with the tumor, just 1, was cancerous. So it had taken off somewhere and was in my body. So that's why I had to do the radiation chemo. However, my prognosis was still good at that time, which was good. So I started everything, and within 4 months of the chemo, I had horrible pain in my lower back and my left leg, and I couldn't walk anymore. So I showed up to chemo on crutches. And of course, you know, I told them I didn't do anything, I don't know what's wrong. So after an MRI, after first a bone scan and an MRI, and I was told I now have metastases to the bone. I have a tumor, still do have a tumor in my sacrum, but it's nowhere near what it was like at first. So I'm like, oh great, so the prognosis of 1.5 to 2 years to live. And I said to my oncologist, no. I said, my kids are teens. I'm a single mom 24/7. My kids are 13 and 17. I said, I need 5 years. I need it 5 years, at least 5 years. And he said, I'm not going to get it. So I thought, oh boy, this is sad. So I started the new, well, first they gave me 5 very intensive palliative radiation treatments. And started me on another chemo, a different type of chemo. I had to go and have a drip for 4 hours and wear a fanny pack home. I had a port, wear a fanny pack home for 24 more hours of this going into my system, and it made me very, very ill. I became couch-bound. Home care was set up for me, and I lost a lot of weight. I was down to 90-some pounds. I lost all my hair. I was gray. And then I went to a place for cancer support called Wellspring, and I had gone there all along, but I went specifically for a Reiki treatment. And Reiki master Susan Nicholas, it was her very last day volunteering, and I was her last client. And I told her my woes, and she handed me a piece of paper with Paul's next talk on it, and said, do yourself a favor, come out and listen to this gentleman speak. So I did. I dragged myself, my walker, and a friend out to the Oakville Library on Navy Street. I'll never forget it, May 26, 2005. And I listened to what he said, and I thought, shit, I don't have anything to lose. I may as well do this. I'm dying. They told me I'm dying, so I did it. I started on everything, and within 2 weeks, I could walk without my walker. I had a mean limp, mind you, but I could walk without my walker. Paul told me I wouldn't get sick from the chemo anymore. He was absolutely right. I didn't get sick from the chemo anymore. I had a little bit of color in my face. I started gaining weight, and that was so awesome, because that meant the cancer wasn't robbing me of my nutrition any longer. So I thought, gee, this is great. I was doing pretty good. And then I was on it 90 days, and that's about when you reach your peak pain tolerance level. So it was about 90 days. And I thought, gee, you know, I'm starting to do more things. I went back to Wellspring, and I was in yoga, and I was doing Qigong, and, you know, things that I couldn't do before. But I was still in a lot of pain, and I thought, oh, you know, I'm still in pain. I guess I'm going to have to increase my morphine and OxyContin. Well, Paul didn't know about that, because that's one thing we've never touched base on. What was I taking for pain? So anyway, I thought, before I do that, I better call Paul, because after all, he's got me on this program, and I better let him know what I'm doing. So I did. I called him and told him I'm gonna, you know, I think I need to increase this because I'm in a lot of pain, but I feel pretty good otherwise. His exact words for me was, Joey, if you don't get off of the morphine and the OxyContin, you are going to die. And I knew he was right because I had just gotten another bone scan results back, and I had a further spread. Even though I was on the supplements, I was still spreading, and it was in my left rib cage and my neck. So I thought, oh yeah, he's right. And the new prognosis was 6 months to a year and a half. So I thought, oh boy, we got to get on this right away. So I took natural anti-inflammatories for to wean myself off of morphine. I got off of the morphine in 5.5, 6 weeks, and then it took me another 4 weeks to get off of the anti-inflammatories. And once that happened, everything just started to turn around. Like, I was disappointed at the first bone scan because I expected to see something better, but Paul was ecstatic. My first bone scan after I after I got off of the morphine and the other stuff, showed nothing more, nothing less. It just stopped. And he was ecstatic, and I'm like, well, you know, I would expect more by now. And he said, Joey, you didn't get cancer overnight. It's not going to go away overnight. So be patient. So I was. And every test after that, something else has happened. And it reversed from my ribs and my neck. The tumor in my sacrum, the sacrum was a nightmare on the bone scan. It started, all new bone growth was noticeable on the scans. Now, mind you, I do still have a tumor in my sacrum. But it's not that bothersome. I take nothing for pain. If I overdo, I lay down for 15, 20 minutes and that's it. And, you know, that's all I do. I don't take anything for pain at all. So it's proof positive that it works. It definitely works. I also believe in body, mind, and spirit, and you have to be very optimistic. You know, when I was trying to get off of the drugs, there were times where I was in excruciating pain, and I'd think, I can't do this, I can't do this. Then one of my kids would walk into the room, and it's like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. So, you know, it's just, you have to be optimistic, and you have to want to live. That's a big thing. You have to really, really want to live when you're in that.
You took this thing during the time you have a chemo and radiation?
Oh yes, I did not tell my doctor what I was doing.
Oh, okay,
I did not.
Okay.
And to this day he's blown away, and he just tells me, keep doing what you're doing because I can't do anything else for you. And he actually gave his blessing for someone else to do the same because this other person would not do any other treatment. He wouldn't do chemo or radiation. Mm-hmm. And he had lymphoma, and he's fine, just fine. So, and my GP, who's female, has told me that she really respects me for what I've done. And what the chemo and radiation did, now that's a whole nother story, but briefly I'll just tell you that the intensive palliative radiation, and they normally do that as a comfort measure because you're on your way out, you're considered practically dead already. It left a stricture in my colon, and eventually I had to have major surgery, and the surgeon couldn't do anything with it, so I ended up with a permanent colostomy. And they couldn't even remove the rectum, which is what they normally do. They remove the rectum, they sew you up, and they couldn't even do that. Everything's welded together and pushed into my pelvis. So it's
all a bonus side effect.
Yeah, it has to slough cells off, and I'll tell you, it's not very pleasant. I was left with a hernia. It was operated on. It's back, and now there's another one right next to the stoma, where the colostomy site is. I had radiation cystitis, so I had to have a bladder procedure done. I have neurological damage. My toes are numb. I could go on and on. My left side, it affected my left side more than anything else. I'm a little directionally challenged on this side, but your brain can retrain, you know, so. But I'm here. I'm forever grateful to Susan and Paul. I never thought I'd see a grandchild. I now have a 4-year-old grandchild. Life is good other than financial stress because I've been on disability for 7.5 years. I have to, keep selling whatever I have to live on what do you call it?
Well, you got to write a book, Joey. You got to write a book on this story.
I'm going to. So, anyway, but thank you, Paul. Thank you, Susan. Namaste. My Reiki master. I'm a Reiki master now as well, and I like to talk. So, but Now it's
yes, Lima's
yeah,
turn.
now it's Lima's turn.
Thanks, Joey. Just a quick little piece of information. The radiation extent that she received, you know, like you could take a watch, and you know, when she got it those days, I mean, the watch would be going backwards, okay? What people need to understand about the exposure to this radiation, not just there, but I don't care whether you go to the, you know, you're getting mammograms every 6 months, you're going to the airport 10 times with all their machines and everything else. We're being bombarded by so much radiation. Radiation impairs this enzyme. That stops us from making these derivatives that are in omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. And these are the key, that your body make enough of these things from good fats to keep you healthy. I guarantee you this, if Joey ever goes off the ethanol and cod liver oil, I would not be surprised that within 6 months she would have cancer again, because these enzymes have to be so damaged